Hate to see it botched? Here's the best bits of Botching It Up Podcast Short Clip.
So that's what you're talking about there is Anita versus Terry Funk. This is the 4th anniversary show, so like 2 years later in 1993. There was 41,000 people in attendance this time. So FMW still a big deal several years later. Terry Funk, who is a massive 80s star, he's still massive in the early 90s. He loves Japan. He loves doing his hardcore stuff in Japan. So these two are going to just, again, they're going to murder each other. This time it's not a cage. It's what we all think of when I say like the no rope barbed wire exploding C4 deathmatch. And yeah, after 15 minutes, the ring will blow up. And what's interesting is I looked at the timer when watching this match, and it's not even 15 minutes long. Basically, Anita wins in 12 minutes, but Terry Funk is so angry, they continue to brawl until the explosion happens. And unlike Foley Funk, this is a real explosion. Again, we're watching grainy footage, so maybe live it wouldn't be like that, but the whole arena just goes white.
This was my absolute favourite match. This is what put me onto Anita and made me carry on watching these death matches. This was a masterpiece. Like, say what you want about the hardcore genre or the garbage genre and this sort of stuff, but the way that this was booked, the way that the two guys carried it out, the storytelling of it, I thought this was amazing, honestly.
There's some real story, and obviously we haven't given it much justice because we don't really know. It's really hard to find the tapes and to find clips of this stuff, but from what I've read, both this match with Funk and the other match with Goto, there was like a year-long storyline going into these matches. Like, they were feud-ending matches. They didn't just throw a barbed wire match out willy-nilly. It's a big deal. It's like the Hell of the Cell of the time.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about AEW's Exploding Ring Death match and comparing that to how the first Hell in a Cell was and the first Elimination Chamber was, and how those gimmicks originally had a power. They had an aura about them, and how they've just been watered and trickled down into absolutely nothing now. Yeah,
because they have their own shows, so we know, once
those
a
Exploding
year.
Ring death matches definitely need to be once every 4 fucking years,
And you know what adds to the allure of them is that going into this, we both thought there was about 3. It turns out there's way more, but it's hard
Tons,
to...
yeah.
You just can't find them. You can't get your hands on them. They're like this rare finds out in the wrestling world.
Which is really, really cool, right? In an age where we can watch pretty much everything on one network or another, it's cool to do a podcast on something that you had to it was quite difficult to dig out and find, and all we can find is like 240p. It just adds to the sort of mystery of it a little bit more, like you're watching something that you're not sure that you're supposed to be watching.
Yeah, I mean, I could find a million barbed wire matches, ECW had one once a month probably. But it's adding an explosion to a match is really rare and really makes it feel special.
Find it really interesting that ECW never actually attempted any of this stuff.
Okay, so there's a story here, which I know you know already, but they wanted Anita to come in and have a match with Sandman, and
wasn't this XPW?
No, well, so in ECW they wanted to have a match with Sandman, and it fell through. Anita did a couple of showings at ECW tapings to hype a match between them, and it just didn't happen. I couldn't really find out why it didn't happen.
I'm sorry, dude, but you're having a barbed wire, no rope, exploding time bomb death match, and you put in the fucking drunk.
Yeah, why
the
not
one guy that should not be around exploding things.
Why not Tommy Dreamer or even Funk? Like, just rematch with Funk or something.
They probably got Sandman because Sandman was the only one that signed up to it because he didn't even remember signing up to it.
Yeah, exactly. I read somewhere, but this might be utter bullshit because I read it on one website, that they actually had the match, but it was so damn awful that they just never put it out there into the world.
You were telling me this.
So it's probably just buried somewhere deep in Heyman's mum's basement.
What a glorious piece of lost footage. That needs to be added to like the wrestling iceberg of tier 8.
But it might have just been taped over. you can, I can imagine Heyman being like that, trying to save money. It was just such a shit match. He just taped over the next pay-per-view. But yeah, the other story is they wanted to bring Onita in XPW in, 2001? When was that promotion around? Early 2000s, right? It was after ECW.
I don't know. I just always assumed that was that the one, like the House of Hardcore sort of stuff.
Yes.
Where, like,
so ECW fell, then XPW kind of came out of its ashes and was just really shit. Shane Douglas was involved with it.
I remember somehow they managed to get a pretty cushy distribution deal in the UK on DVDs. I don't know whether you remember this, but their product used to be everywhere for no particular reason. It'd always be like £2 in Asda. These XPW shows. Or was that 3PW? Like, it was all of these tiny ECW light promotions, for some reason, got cheaply marketed over here, and they had, like, a ton of shit pay-per-views on DVD that you could buy for a couple of quid.
Yeah. So the story goes that we both read is that they wanted Onita to come over and do one of the Exploding Death matches with Sabu for 3PW or XPW, sorry. The promoter at the time that was like a piece of shit porn promoter turned wrestling promoter got arrested.
Oh no, not in the wrestling business. Are you serious?
Sorry to disappoint, but it's not all innocent. And you didn't go ahead, which is unfortunate.
You can only get that from a wrestling fan's perspective. Right. Oh yeah, no, so there's this illegal porn distributor who did some like crazy seedy shit, but it's so sad, man, because that Exploding Ring death match didn't happen.
It's probably for the best, because I think Sabu would have legitimately killed himself.
Especially in a promotion as amateur as XPW.
Yeah, there's no doctors backstage.
No.
Although I think Onita knows a thing or two about explosions. He probably could have got Sabu through it.
Was it this match or a later match? I think maybe it was... I can't remember what match it was. I think maybe it was Onita versus Hayabusa.
Yeah, that was a good one.
There was a really obnoxious guy on commentary for the American audience. I think this is what linked into what you were talking about, where they were trying to promote the death match for XPW. And he went on this amazing little story, which is probably not real, but I really hope it is, that Onita, in preparation for a death match, jumped into a Japanese river and got hospitalized because he had loads of open wounds from his last death match that got infected, and he lost a ton of weight and nearly died.
Jesus.
That is... whether it's true or not, that adds to the man and the myth that Onita is. That's a crazy story that I really hope is true.
So that one happened... Was it like 95, 96?
I just wanted to confirm again, because we didn't really talk about it, that Onita versus Funk was my favourite Exploding Ring death match that I'd seen.
Like, share, and subscribe to keep it botched up, brother.